Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Julio Batres-Gavidia. I'm the president-elect for the St. Catharines South Club. I've been a Rotarian for over 17 years. In my professional life, what I do is actually I work with holograms and I do projection mapping and experiential marketing activities. And so we use projectors and televisions and cameras quite a bit. And we do a lot of hybrid meetings even before COVID started. So we have quite a bit of experience doing that. So I hope I can answer some of your questions, make things easier for you, how to conduct hybrid meetings, and anything you may have, you may want to ask. I will be here for you.
Great. Thank you. So what we want to do is start with finding out what you want to get out of the session. So we are going to talk about running a club meeting with excellence. And Julio, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay, good. So really there's three types of meetings now in Rotary. We have just in person, completely virtual like we are today, or a hybrid where some of the people are in person in the room and the rest are on the screen. And so what we want to do today is we're going to start off with a breakout session. And we're going to put you in pairs. We might have one group of three. And if you want, you can, I'll send these questions in, but if you want, you could just take a quick picture of this slide. We want you to talk about, just to your partner, name and club. How is your club currently meeting? What is one thing you really like about how your club meetings are run? We're talking about running meetings with excellence. And then between the two of you, we want to hear what is one question you have about running club meetings. Maybe it's a technology question. Maybe it's a more how do you get volunteers to do X question. And that's going to be our agenda. It's going to be based on your questions. So I'll send those questions in. We'll send them in. You'll see them go by on the screen, but if you want to just take a quick picture of that, some people prefer that as their way. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment so that we can put you into groups. So we want to go through and just hear from each of the groups. I'll capture, and Julio, if you want to capture maybe two of the questions, but let's just go through and hear from a spokesperson from each group. Tell us how your club's meeting, some of the likes, and then your questions. So our first group was Greg and Sean. Who wants to go for the group?
What do you want to? You want to speak, Sean? Do you want me to speak?
Doesn't matter. You can if you want.
Take it away, Greg.
Okay. Kind of a mixed bag. We have hybrid meetings and we have in-person meetings, and the Buffalo Club is going to move into hybrid. Lots of challenges getting people coming out. Everyone's, I guess, facing that right now because of the COVID situations. How to be effective in the meeting. We've had lots of challenges trying to get it right. And what we found for hybrid, the best thing that we have a very large room that's very boomy. And we found that the best thing that we finally got to was to use a laptop PC, hook in we have a recording mic. You shut off the mic that's actually in the computer and have a recording mic a direct feed into your computer. And then you use the microphone in the room for the room. That way people can actually, the problem is you can't hear most hybrid meetings. And the problem we also have is people walk around with their mic.
Right.
What you've got to do is keep them stationary so they don't move.
Perfect. So I know we'll go into more technology in a little bit. So what is something you guys like, or is that the thing you like? And what's your one question for us?
How to do it better.
Okay, so how to do
and we like the idea, obviously, that we can be, it's an inclusive thing. The one thing about having our club has a lot of snowbirds.
Yep.
So they feel isolated, right? Like if they're away for 4 months, they're not part of the club. Like this, they're part of the club. You can pick up stuff, and that's important.
Perfect. So we'll tackle that, how to do hybrid clubs meetings better. Okay, let's go to Dave and Joy. How are your clubs
getting?
meeting? One thing that you like, each of the likes, and then your question.
Joy, do you want to
Thank-
take?
Or you can.
Go ahead, Joy.
Go ahead, Joy.
Okay, so I think the main thing was sound issues, dealing with that, similar to the other folks there. And how do you connect the two audiences, one on Zoom and one in person, to be able to connect each other together so they can network and still feel all connected in one meeting. And we were thinking about maybe doing tablets on every table, but then we've got, how do we boost the Wi-Fi capability to accommodate that?
Okay,
David,
great.
did I cover yours? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good. And especially the I think with our conversation around kind of the social aspect and making the two groups feel like they're part of the same meeting.
Okay.
Sometimes the virtual participants feel a little bit disconnected from what's going on in the room. And I like the idea of the recording mic being plugged into the laptop, because that may provide some relief from the problem with the audio.
Right. Well, Julio will get more into that in a minute. So yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank
Sure.
you.
Sure, we'll
Brandon
talk
and
about that.
Louise, how is your club currently meeting alike around club meetings, and your question?
Do you want me to go, Brandon?
Sure.
Brandon's club is meeting in person. He's in Buffalo or south of Buffalo. And our club is still meeting with Zoom, but we try to do one social event a month. So we're all together. We're waiting to get back into our facility where we were meeting before, but it's been under renovation. And they're supposed to be setting it up to do hybrid. So we haven't experimented with hybrid yet. So that's coming in the next few weeks. What was the other thing you wanted to know? Our question?
Yeah, your question?
The question, I have a question. I'd like to know how the other people start their meetings.
Okay.
The clubs. I don't know if Brandon didn't really have another question. Did you, Brandon?
No, not really.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you for that. Let's go to Michael and Sue.
Hey, Sue, how about you take it to begin with?
So we so I am my club is actually meeting in person and Zoom. We're doing every other meeting. We started doing every other meeting Zoom in person. We've just now started going back to in person. Michael's club has been doing hybrid. And and we both said that, you know, the Zoom meetings do work for some, but not for everybody. So I think it's going to have to be a bit of a hybrid meeting, I think, for our club. And I'm assuming Michael's saying the same, that we still want to have some kind of hybrid meeting. We haven't really tried hybrid yet. That's why I'm here. I'm here to find out a little bit more about the hybrid. We do have a facility that has a television, has a PC that we can use, has some speakers, but we haven't ironed out all the parts about hybrid, because like I say, right now we're kind of doing one of one and one of the other. We meet twice a month. We also, every fifth Tuesday, when there's a fifth Tuesday, we do a social event so that everybody can connect. And we do that in the evening, as we're a breakfast club. So anyway, I don't know, Michael, do you want to add anything?
What's your question you want us to answer today?
Well, I think my question is technical again, just to, you know, what basic equipment do we need to make a good hybrid meeting? And I know Michael was saying that they were having hybrid meetings, but they're having problems with their mic system, their people being heard.
Okay. So we'll tackle that. Good. Thank you. Okay, two more groups, Elaine and Ian.
Whoops. I think I'm the spokesperson. How we're meeting, Ian's club has been doing hybrid, had been doing hybrid for approximately 2 years, sorry, Zoom for approximately 2 years, and then hybrid in the last 6 weeks. And our club was doing Zoom until about the fall of 2021. We had a sort of an Omicron suspension back to Zoom. And then we've been hybrid for the last number of weeks this year. So in terms of what we like, the convenience of technology, you can have, most importantly, you can have worldwide speakers. Ian mentioned having a speaker from Latvia. And I mentioned that we have a water project in Nepal and we're partnering with a club there. And we're able, for example, to have speakers from that club, but so the convenience of it. And it also allows members who are traveling, snowbirds, or just for our club members who are in the States, excuse me, to join wherever they are. The question that we have, I think, is technology. Sort of the experience can, when you're doing hybrid, can feel like two separate meetings. You can't have, it's difficult to have the one-on-one contact during the meeting. Somebody mentioned, I think at the end of the last PETS, when I raised some questions about hybrid meetings, that you can distribute iPads around the room. So, which someone has mentioned again this morning. So that sounds like an interesting idea if you have the availability of those. But for the Zoomies versus the roomies, hearing and seeing one another so that we don't, as I say, so that you're not just struggling depending whether you're behind the screen or in the room, etc.
Great, thank you. And Cindy and Dawn.
Don, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, I'll start off and then you can add in.
Okay.
Cindy's from Amherst. They presently are meeting in person. They've got about 18 members, I think, and I think she said 10 to 12 are coming on a regular basis. Welland has been meeting virtually until beginning of April. We've had 3 meetings on a hybrid nature. We went to City Hall that had the equipment. It takes me about 20 minutes to get it up and going properly with a couple of computers. It seems to be working, but we're finding that very few people come in person, and most of them are staying virtually. We do have the sound system worked out now, so in most cases.
And your question?
We didn't get that far, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. We had trouble connecting.
Well, somehow I got in a session by my own, and we got switched in later. So I don't know if you have one, Cindy, a question for that.
No, we were in 2 separate chat rooms and then got combined very late. So, but we're talking about, we were doing Zoom, then we did hybrid, and now we're, pretty much in person. But, the speaker program is coming back and it's getting stronger. But, as COVID changes, the concerns change too. So we've got to make sure we're prepared for everything. This thing about passing around iPads and all the tables is very interesting.
Okay, well then let's dive into these. And if you think of other questions as we go along, we'll be happy to answer those as well. So let's start, Julio, with you answering a little bit of how to do hybrid better or how to do hybrid well. And so why don't you share some of the equipment and some of your other tips?
For sure. So somebody, I think Dave Schultz put in there that there are some resources on our website, on the district website, in regards to how to conduct hybrid meetings. So I will be using some of that, what we're going to be talking about today. So let's see here. Yeah, it's like my PowerPoint is not coming up at all. Okay, so in order to for the setup of the virtual hybrid meeting, the main thing that everybody was talking about that came up is sound. Sound is one of those things that, in order to get everybody engaged in to feel like they're working together, sound is the big thing. And some of the ideas that came up, which was like using an iPad or iPhones in order to use that. And I know Greg also mentioned a recording mic. Those are a little bit more expensive, but if that's something that your club is able to do, that is definitely the way to go. Let me see here. I'm gonna bring up a little thing here. Is that better? I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll do it this way because every time I start doing play, for some reason, it hides everything. So, for a meeting, what do you need in order to get a meeting set up? If you have access to a projector that and a screen, that will help because you can project the speakers like the virtual attendants on the side or behind the speaker. A television will also work. Speakers are very very important. I've noticed that some clubs they're using the small PC speakers. You gotta know your audience, and also you have to see what kind of room you have, and use the appropriate speakers for that. A small PC speaker, like the little ones that they sell at Best Buy, may not do the trick. You may need to invest in a bigger speaker. There are tons of Bluetooth speakers at a very low prices that you can buy. You are also, if you can, and if you're in a facility where you can connect to their sound system, that's even better. And you do that by usually just by hooking up an extension cable or an audio out cable to your laptop. And the other thing is buying having an external camera other than the iPad itself. Now, this can be a webcam. There are some really good webcams out there. I can, at the end of this, I will send you a list of different webcams that are available and different price ranges. Of course, if you have the budget, you can also invest in a digital SLR camera, which are a little bit actually way better than a webcam, and it gets a better quality. But it all depends on the budget that your club has, and also what you're trying to accomplish. Now, when we're talking about the audience, you need to know how many people are going to be attending, how big the room is, and also how many people are going to be doing um, um, conducting the meeting, like and helping to run the meeting, because sometimes if you only have one, it's ideal to have two people, one person doing one task and another person doing another task, which I'll go over in a minute, what those are, in order to facilitate the meeting and make it easier for everybody. Um, there's a level like when you look at the website on the district website, you will see that there is a document that we have there that has different levels. There's going to be from level 0 to 4. Level 0 is just pretty much one-on-one um, meeting, which is just like one person talking to another, and that's using your default camera on your computer. Level 1 is a simple where there will be no presentation on videos. There is a remote mic that is being used, and an additional as a camera. And you also have a podium microphone that is hooked up to the speaker or the sound system on the like in wherever the place that you're conducting the meeting at. Um, the main thing that I find that is good for when you conduct meetings is preparations. Having the meeting slides ahead of time. Even though I tried to do that today, as you notice, I should have practiced this and run this through it before conducting the meetings today. But unfortunately, the way we have it set up, we weren't able to do that. Um, because things like this, as like the meeting's not showing up or anything like that, can happen, and you gotta have like a plan A or plan B in order to do that. And there's different ways of having those different plans just in case one or the things are not working. Like for example, today I'm not able to present this as a whole screen, so I'm going slide by slide on my PowerPoint. Um, Level 2 is a basic one, again, with a local presentation of video. And this one is like, so you're gonna prepare to your laptop and the streaming live feed, and you're gonna have everything ready to go. on your host laptop, and everything is being connected to the, to this particular laptop. And I can answer more of your questions in a moment after I'm done with this, and I'll answer some of your questions about how to set this up. Um, Level 3, this is like for this is actually what we did. We had a joint meeting with St. Catharines clubs, all the St. Catharines clubs, and that's where we had two people helping out. One person, which actually that was me. I was doing the switching of the cameras between the camera that was pointed towards the speaker, and then we had another camera pointed towards the crowd, like to the people attending physically at the conference center. And then we had another person in Zoom who was the co-host, and he was actually handling the Zoom meeting attendance, and letting people out, muting them, and all that. And so that way it wasn't too cumbersome for me to run the meeting. So the level 4 is a little bit more advanced, and like I said, I will be providing some of these these documents. They're available online on our website, but I will be adding more information for that after the meeting. And this one is about like the presentation using two different operators. And this one, you can have like a wireless recording mic, like Greg was saying. You can also buy there's all different kinds of microphones that you can buy that you can pass around. Let's see. Any questions so far? If anybody has anything. Sorry.
Yeah, so if you're not sure even one of those terms or anything, don't be shy, ask away.
Hey, Julio, it's Mike Carrington. Our problem is we have a really good quality microphone, but it's a single microphone. And for anybody that's remote on Zoom, it's sometimes difficult to hear. Is employing a mixer and more than one microphone, spread throughout the group, plus a speaker, is that the solution?
That will be the solution if it depends on what the issue is with the microphone, if it is feedback or it's echo. Another thing is if you notice, if you're using Zoom has its own default audio settings, and if you click on, if you're on a computer right now and you click where it says mute on the arrow, and you see where it says audio settings, and then there's one thing there that says automatically adjust microphone volume. Zoom tends to block out the background noises automatically sometimes, so you need to disable that. You need to take that off, and sometimes that will improve the sound, when you're in a meeting. So you can try that first. But if that doesn't work, yes, you are correct. Then a mixer will be.
And how much would a mic like that be, Julio?
Depending on your price budget, and and there's also, I'm not sure if anybody.
Can you give a range of price, Julio, just so people have a sense? Is it $100? Is it $300?
You can get a mixer from Amazon for like $60, and it works okay. They do break, right? Or you can get a mixer from Lloyd and McQuaid in St. Catharines for about $120, $120, and it can go up to $500, depending on the quality that you want. But yeah, so you're looking about $100 to $200 for a good budget mixer that will do the trick.
Plus, we'd have to get another microphone or two to put throughout the local group there too. So, okay, thank you.
Well, but some of them might actually do both. So I have one that's both a mic and a speaker, and works very well if I just put that in the room.
Yeah, we have a Logitech C930E webcam, which has microphone capability.
Yeah.
But nowhere near as good as our Yeti X.
You got a Yeti.
Yeah.
Oh, that should work wonders. That should be working
Yeah, but even on Omni setting,
Mhm.
you know, you got to be relatively close. And if we have a group that's kind of spread out, the group, when they speak, cannot always be heard.
Oh yeah, so because so in that case, like if you're gonna have people speaking out like they're on the different tables and they're speaking to one mic and the mic is like away, then
Right.
you will need a boom mic. So you need a boom mic that will get like a spreading for the whole room. Um, those ones for depends on the size of the room. It can go between $200 for the mic for the boom mic.
And
But in
and
that case, like yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I was gonna say,
Go ahead.
I've seen one club who what they did instead of that is that they just made it the norm that you always came up to the mic to speak if you're in the room.
That's
So I
fine.
was in the room, there were 50 people in the room, there were 20 people online, and you, for your happy
That is
dollar, whatever it was, you stood up and went to the speaker's
Yeah.
mic. And so
that
that's
was
one way that they solved it without having to buy a lot more technology.
Yeah, and we've actually used that with the Logitech camera. We just put the Logitech in one area, and then people stand up and go and they look into the camera, they speak into the camera, so people are actually seeing their faces and they can hear them perfectly. And that's just with the Logitech camera, which is doesn't cost that much. I hope that
Right.
answers
So
your
some
question
more
there.
questions just about the technology part you've covered so far, Julio. Anyone, yeah, you can ask for something to be defined. Any question goes.
Yeah, like the main thing when you're thinking about there is you need one person on, like, I know this is something that has come up in my club quite a bit. It's like, who's gonna do it? Who's gonna run the Zoom meeting, right? Because not everybody's technical and all that. But the
That's
thing is, it
that's it.
doesn't. Go ahead. Sorry, someone spoke. No. Uh, so it doesn't need to be overwhelming. Once you get into the habit of doing it, it can actually be like very easy. It's just getting everything prepped and everything ready to go. That's the only thing. But you need
And
one person that has to be on the computer all the time, muting people, switching cameras. Because I'm not sure if you noticed, but if you look on the bottom left-hand corner where it says stop video and all that, if you click on the arrow moving up, if those of you that are on a computer, you see that it says there select a camera. You can actually connect multiple cameras to your computer, and you can switch between cameras just by going here and selecting a different camera. So when we do meetings, we actually we have we use the Logitech because of our budget, and I find that they're really good for that. And we put one Logitech right onto the speaker, like close to the speaker, so we can get a good frame from them. And we use that microphone for the speaker. And then we have another that we point towards the attendants, and we just switch it back and forth between FaceTime, like that and the speaker camera, and that seems to bring that both meetings together. Like when we had, and I believe you were there at that meeting that we had joint meeting, people were talking to the virtual the people that were there in Zoom, and they were talking back and forth, and it was like seamless,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. And so maybe if we build on that, I'll say share a couple other ideas about the Zoomies and Roomies. I love that term as well. So just like we started with a breakout, one of the things that you can do is do a breakout. Even at the beginning, we often do it in our club as like coffee time, like you sat down with someone. And so you can take the people on screen and turn them into breakout rooms. So they're in a group of 3 or a group of 4, just like the tables are. And we often start our meeting with that and maybe have people report out, one sign of spring or whatever it is if we actually asked a specific question. But that's one way to connect them. The other way to connect them is you can, depending, as people said, with the tablets and stuff, You can, if you don't have a ton of people, I sometimes ask people to bring their computer to the meeting. And so then they will have on their table their computer, and the people that are online join them in a breakout. So breakouts are a very good way to connect the two together. Another good way to connect them together is to at times just draw out or warn the people online, to ask them to either put something in the chat or to speak to something. In that meeting that Julio's mentioning with all the Niagara clubs and St. Catharines clubs, what was really interesting was the speaker was online as well. She was speaking from Victoria, British Columbia. And so it actually kind of brought the meeting more together because the speaker was online with some of the guests. Anyways, I've got a couple other tips afterwards, but those are some of the ways to do Zoomies and Roomies together. Great. So let's carry on with maybe some of your technology questions or a couple other points, Julio, you wanted to make that might help people.
Like the other thing when people were talking about iPad or iPhones, and that's a great idea. We've actually used that as well in some of our meetings when we meet at a restaurant where it's very noisy. We connect so the iPad will actually be connected to the Zoom meeting, and then you have a laptop that is doing the Zoom meeting itself, or you have somebody else remotely that can also be conducting the Zoom meeting. But we pass around the iPad, and we use the iPad's microphone and speaker in order to hear and talk to people. But again, that's also is knowing your audience. Like, how many people do you have in that room? We've used it in larger events where we have like 20 or 30 people. In that case, what we do is we hook up the laptop to the sound system of the room, or we bring one of those Bluetooth, the larger ones, the Bluetooth speakers you can buy for about $200, $300. They're really good quality speakers. We got a small Bose 500 speaker, really easy to set up, and the sound quality is amazing. You just put it like on one side of the room, and then you could hear like everybody can hear, and it's very clear, and it also has an amazing microphone that we use on it as well. Any other questions that you may have?
Julio, I have one comment. Like I said before, we got the Logitech C930E webcam, which is working okay. I had thought very seriously about getting the Logitech Brio, which is quite a bit more expensive, and I kind of regret not going that direction now, because the Brio has a 120-degree span of visibility, whereas the 930E is 90 degrees. And I would have liked the wider span of the 120 degrees.
Any recommendations, Julio?
There's different cameras out there, but again, and it depends on the layout of the room, right, and what you're trying to get, and the quality. Like, I like Logitech. No, if you go with like the C90 590 that you were saying, or the Brio, it doesn't, like, you still get a good quality no matter what. So
Okay,
oh,
great.
I think I know what happened. My computer jumped to a different network. Sorry. Okay.
dear.
Any other questions?
So maybe I'll come at a couple of those ones around motivating people to come to meetings and keeping it different, and then we'll flip back to some more technology questions or other questions that you have as a group, if there's anything. And thank you again, Dave Schultz, for putting the link in the chat. If you didn't make a note of it already, that does have a lot of this information there. So please look at that as well. So, as we said, great Rotary meetings are engaging. So I love the fact everyone's thinking about how do you engage the people online and in the room. And so getting people involved, and so hence breakouts, if it's all virtual, using polls is great. But you certainly can get everyone involved. There's a great meeting should have some time when you're allowed to go into small groups and talk instead of having to be quiet the whole time. You know, so they build a sense of community and leave you energized. So we'll come back to your question, Louise, in a moment about how do people start meetings, but certainly excellent Rotary meetings do have greeters. Lisa was doing a little bit of that this morning when we joined the plenary, but sometimes it's good to not be the host and the greeter and the Zoomie. So having someone who's assigned to greet. A lot of us did that in person, but some clubs have lost that online or in hybrid, but it's important. It's important to have a greeter who's online, who's greeting the people who are joining online. And it's important to have someone in the room who's greeting the people that are coming in there. And it doesn't mean they have to interrupt. They can do it through the chat if they're online. You know, I just want to welcome you to this meeting. I'm so happy to see you here. But having someone actually assigned to greeting in both screen and in person is important. And I know at our club, we actually had to kind of rewrite the greeting expectations, because what was happening was people are saying hi and then they start talking to their friends. But a big part of a greeter is to make sure guests are felt welcome. So they either connect the guest to someone in the room who invited them, if that's the case, if they don't come in with them, or introduce them to someone else in the room who can now kind of look after the guest. And doing that online is also the same. So if you have a guest online, assign someone who's going to chat with them, send them a couple notes, say, you know, if you're wondering what RILA stands for, it's this. But assigning someone to be with that guest, I think, is really important. You know, all good meetings should start on time and end on time. So we'll try and model that. But all good meetings, great time for socializing. And so no matter what, you know, if you always had 10 or 15 minutes where people are eating their breakfast, lunch, dinner, having their drink or whatever, online or hybrid should be no different. There's got to be time for socializing. And as I say, small breakouts are that are the equivalent to a table talk, or doing it in pairs. Those are very, very effective. Certainly, you know, having an agenda with the different topics is very important. But the place that I wanted to go to is offer variety. And I think that answers a little bit of the motivating people to come. Although there's some other ideas about wanting people to come in person. You know, sometimes in person, what works well is, say that they're, you know, handing out pins or scarves, or we had a presenter who taught us how to handle emergencies if someone has an overdose in Naloxone, so the kit. And so to get your kit and get your certification, you had to be there in person. So having motivation in the room is great. But I just think in general, we got to have more flexibility in our Rotary meetings. So I think one of the first ones is to switch it up. And so some clubs have, say if you are meeting weekly, our club has 2 meetings where we have that are more of a traditional meeting with a speaker. We have one that's club business, and we have one that's a social. And the social is sometimes at the normal time, which is breakfast, and the social is sometimes in the evening, and there is no meeting that time. Going to different venues is great. Another reason to motivate people. So for example, in October's vocational month, and to actually make sure that all 4 of those meetings are at someone's actual place of business, or you don't have to wait for vocational month to do it. It's a great membership recruitment tactic, as if you're trying to engage a winery in your area or a manufacturer or whatever, and actually have the Rotary meeting on their premises and make what they do your meeting discussion. Certainly counting service projects and social events as meetings is important, so that again, people know that that is a real one. I know of a club that actually had all of the people under 40 ran the club meeting once a month. And it was very interesting and very different. Likewise, I got to know the other new members in my club because we had New Members Day and we ran the meeting. And that was pretty interesting. And we really engaged and had to learn a lot about Rotary to run the meeting. And so that was pretty fun. One of the things we do at least once a quarter in my club is we do speed networking. So we actually, people have, say, about 10 questions on a list. like some of the ones that Lisa used this morning, or what's been your worst job, or what's one of your favorite accomplishments in your career or home life. And so we have them on, and people are paired up with one other person, 5 minutes. You ask them what questions you want to, and they ask you their questions with 5 minutes. Then they go to another room, and then they go to another room. We do it about 3-4 times, and it is extremely well attended. We've done it all in person. We've done it all online, and it's possible to do it in hybrid. And boy, oh boy, our meeting, when members know they're the speaker, our attendance goes up. Also, to have people do, if it's not a classification talk, although those are certainly, encouraged, is one of the things that happens is, I joined Rotary in 1993, I think. And so I did a classification talk then and never since. So, asking people to even just do 5-minute talks about themselves and have that as the speakers. And again, that's a great thing if people are online, to have some of them be featured, not just the people in the room. Some other ideas to change it up is to, instead of a meeting, have some social events to celebrate personal milestones. So maybe it's so-and-so's retirement party. Or it's so-and-so's graduation party, and you kind of turn and change the meeting into a celebration. Or you do make the whole meeting a training. And so you don't run it like a normal meeting, but we do an hour on something not unlike some of the topics being covered today. We have a partnership in Rotary with Toastmasters. So actually engaging the Toastmasters in your community, having someone from Toastmasters come, learning more about how you can go there is a great idea. Another one is to conduct a networking event, and we did this in Hamilton. So we had a network, actually we've done it 2 versions. One is we did a networking event of all Rotarians in the area. So there's 12 clubs in the city of Hamilton, including Ancaster, Dundas, Waterdown, Stony Creek. So we invited people to come, all Rotarians, come, bring your business cards, come and meet other people. And made it a very clear that it was a networking only. We didn't have any welcome and any formalities, no toasting. We just made it pure networking. We did another one where we made a networking event for people under 40. And we had about 15 Rotarians in the room who weren't under 40. And we had about 30 people that were under 40 who came to network. And yes, we did tell them about Rotary, but we also just said, we want you to meet people in the community. And that was really seen as a very effective introduction. The other one is to have a club brainstorming on a topic. So in our club, we actually took, we looked at, the membership committee looked at what vocations there were gaps in that compared to the demographics of Hamilton. And so in our case, education, we have 3 universities and colleges in Hamilton, Mohawk, McMaster, and Redeemer, and many educational institutes. And so, we identified that we needed more people from education and healthcare. We actually had a brainstorming meeting where people at their tables did some brainstorming. Who else can you think of that? Who could we approach here? So just changing your meeting up can be a really effective thing. And my last point, and yes, we will put these, all of these materials will be available afterwards on the district website. But I'll put the slide presentation in the chat in a moment as well. But one of the things you might also want to do is assess your meetings. So I have at times asked a friend of mine who's not a Rotarian to come to the meeting and then tell me afterwards, like, was it engaging? Did people sort of like leave you apart? What was the feel of it? Or just even asking your club to evaluate the meeting at the end of the meeting. What did you like today? What could we do more of, less of? Or doing membership satisfaction surveys. So you find out, is the climate inclusive? Is it welcoming? Is it respectful? So again, that can be an effective thing to do. So why don't we go to Louise's question, which was, how do you start your meetings? So I think, are you asking, do people start like with a land acknowledgement or an anthem or that sort of thing?
Yeah, it came up in on Thursday night. There was some question about the prayer and that we stopped. I just wanted how people, because of this inclusion and how people are starting their meetings now, because we stopped doing the prayer about 4 years ago. And then we got some new members and they were surprised we still did O Canada. So I don't know, are
So-
clubs still doing O Canada, or are people changing how much are people changing how they're doing starting their meetings, I mean.
And I'll start us off and say that a lot of clubs are doing a club reflection. So instead of it, not necessarily a prayer, but it's just something to kind of center and think about and some thoughts. But how about, why don't we get some American perspective first? So Cindy, how do you guys start your meeting?
We usually start it first with the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a flag, and then we all recite the four-way test. And then we go into announcements and everything like that. But
Great.
we haven't been doing prayers in some time. People would like it, but as I said the other night, we've got a very diverse group with many religions represented and everything like that. So
We also have a
reflections and thoughts and prayers are good.
we also have a very diverse group in my club. We have Muslims and other religions represented. And the way we start our meetings is we start with O Canada, and then we do an invocation that everybody has agreed to, that talks some more about Rotary, and then we do the four-way test. So that's how we start our meeting. But it seems that everyone, including we do have one atheist in our club, and he's good with it. And like I said, we also have other religious and different minorities, including myself, that are okay with that. So
Great. How about a couple others? How do you start your meeting?
In Niagara-on-the-Lake, we do O Canada, a land acknowledgement, four-way test, and a toast to the Queen, Canada, and Rotary.
I
Great.
forgot about the toast. Yeah, we do the toast as well.
Yeah. And some clubs do land acknowledgements as well. I think that's probably more likely in Canada than in the US. Dave? We can't hear you, David.
Okay, sorry about that. I was saving the file you just shared and it wouldn't let me talk. Yeah, we do the land acknowledgement as well, and we do like an invocation, which is a non-religious type opening with the four-way test and the toast, the standard toast. But yeah, the land acknowledgement we've added recently. So
Great. Okay. So we have about 10 minutes left. So let's open up to you. If I think we have answered or tried to answer the best we can most of your questions. So why don't you give us a couple more? What else would you like to know?
I have a couple members in our club that are just opposed to the land acknowledgement. So I think if we were to do the land acknowledgement, we would lose some members. So I'm stuck there. I don't know, how do you, that's dealing with conflict, right?
Yeah. I mean, in our club, what we did was we did survey on it. And so we knew what percentage were in favor and not in favor and neutral. And out of that, we actually said that, okay, we're going to do land acknowledgement every other meeting. And so we said, can't do it all. That's not going to please all. Not doing it all. It's not going to please all. So that's our solution on diversity, equity, inclusion.
I guess, and also one of the questions was how to get people to come out to the meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I said, have a reason to come out. So if, there's pins or there's posters or there's, things to actually get, that can be good. Also, we find sometimes that it's going to be a special meeting in person that it can work. Food, we're going to host some special food treats, etc. Often work. That sort of thing. How about some others? What do you do to get people to come out in person?
In my club, sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, it was one of my questions up front, and I can just say we haven't solved it yet. I find that we have a number of members who would be perfectly okay to come out. We have a few members who have immune issues, and we understand that, and that's, to my way of thinking, that's what the hybrid part of the meeting is for, to include those people. And then we have a group of people who are just used to now wandering down to their computer in the morning, grabbing their coffee, and it's just easy, right? They don't drive anywhere. And so it's just trying to get over that hump and like you're saying, give them a reason to come out.
We sometimes profile the people in the room because we have way less people in the room than on the screen. So they sometimes talk a little bit more about what they've been chatting about. We actually try and sort of feature what's happening in the room because we have probably 2/3, maybe 3/4 on screen. So the numbers have been coming up and up and up for the in person in the room. But to some extent, if everyone's happy, then I think that's great. Julio, you're going to say what you guys do to bring people out?
Yeah, so we actually changed our meetings. We used to meet 3 times a month, every Monday, and then one Monday on the month was the board meeting. We switched it to every other week, and then in the weeks in between, we do socials. We actually finding that there's more people come to our social events than to our meetings, which is quite interesting. So we don't know whether it's that because like we meet on Mondays at noon, and that even for myself, Mondays at noon is very, very hard. That's my busiest day of the week. And but if we have like an event on a Tuesday night and stuff, our attendance just doubles.
The vice president of Rotary International, Valerie Wafer, she said that she thinks going forward, we're going to do socials and service in person and training and meetings online.
Because like even on like when we have like people for events to collect garbage and things like that, our attendance is actually quite good there.
Yeah.
Like you said, so.
Great. Other questions people have?
I just want to make a comment that what our club tried doing was actually switching it up in terms of time. We have the second Tuesday is an evening, a dinner with speaker, and again we had people working that can't make the noon meetings. So trying to accommodate everybody, it's a bit challenging, but we have a venue that allows us to do that. So we were fortunate.
That's great. That's great.
I wish I could share what we do to bring people out, but for some reason, our in-person meetings are up to like 35 people, and we got maybe 4 online. Wow. And that's pretty regular. So it's been great. Everybody's coming back, but I don't know what we did. I can't help you.
Well, one of the things that some clubs do is they do have a telephone tree or a project caring committee. And if someone isn't showing up or is only showing up virtually, it's just making sure someone's checked in with them. Is everything okay? Is this your preferred way? Is it working for you? But, making that effort to reach out to either people that you haven't seen at all, or for those online to say, back to club evaluation, how is it working for you? What can we do differently to make it more effective? Are we inclusive enough? And giving that job to either your membership committee, if you have one, or everyone on the board takes on 2 phone calls or something, and not necessarily an email, but an actual phone call, that can be really effective. Great. So maybe we'll wrap up then by finding out, based on what we've been talking about, what's one thing that you're going to try and do, maybe something you're going to purchase, or what's one idea you're going to take out of today and take back to your club to see if it might work. So I'll just go around. You can pass if you want, but I'm going to ask if Sue will go first, and then Michael, and then Louise.
Yeah, so I'm going to take back to the club. Like I said, we're really wanting to investigate the hybrid meetings. So I'm going to take back the information, and I've got the link from Dave that we'll take a look at and see if we can figure out budget wise, if we can afford some of the stuff that we need. Like I say, the venue we are using does have a TV, does have a speaker system. So I think basically what we're going to have to get is a camera of some kind. So anyway, so that's what I'm doing.
Great. And Julio put his email in the chat there, so be sure to grab it. And also Paul Marchese, Dave, how do I say his name? Paul? He's also a district member of our public image team who will answer any technology questions.
Yes.
Michael, and then Louise, and then Joy. What's something you're going to take away?
Well, I'm going to try to lead on some of Julio's suggestions. Really, I think our hybrid meeting process and whole bit is working quite well. But I do want to improve the microphone, capabilities in the whole bit. So I'll be looking at that in more detail. And
Great.
personally, I've got to get more into Zoom and some of the controls and whatnot, because Dan Smith, our current president, has been doing most of it. So I've got about a month to step up to the table on that one.
Great. Great. Okay. Good for you. Louise, and then Joy, and then Greg.
Well, we're just starting to get back into that room where that was being renovated, and they're supposed to be getting a bunch of the hybrid stuff for us, the camera and everything. So we have a meeting coming up with them. So Julio's information, I can't apply it just yet till I'm there and know what they have and don't have, but it was very helpful to know
Great.
what we're
You
looking
got a
for.
checklist. Okay, great. Great. Joy?
The mics for sure. I got to improve the mics. So adding a recording mic and adding a second camera, I think is a good idea for the podium. So that's where I'm going to start.
Great. Greg, Ian, then Brandon, and then Elaine. Greg?
Look to change up some formats. Breakouts. We don't do it. That sounds interesting. We should, give it a go.
That was why we started our meeting that way, by the way. Ian?
I would like to do the similar thing with the breakout. One of the problems we have is getting the hybrid people contact with the people in person. So I like the idea of breakout per table. So each table would have one or two people virtually to be part of their group, and they can be part of that conversation. So
Great.
I think we'll try that.
Great. Brandon?
So we've been meeting in person the whole time, and we're probably gonna add more fun to our meetings. It's just the same thing over and over again. We do our pledge of the United States flag, and then the invocation, and just have a speaker talk. So trying to switch it up a little bit.
Great, great. Elaine, Cindy, then Sean?
I think I have lots of good ideas about the format of the meeting and switching it up, and the fun and the flexibility, et cetera. So I've been taking notes and hopefully can employ some of that. I think it's a good idea to review the technology that we have, because I don't know that we're sort of functioning at our optimal. I did have a quick question to just throw out, is the manpower challenge for the technology for our club, and if anybody wants to get back to me about how you get enough people to run that meeting after meeting after meeting, et cetera. So just throwing that question out there, and wondering if anyone has any thoughts, not necessarily at this moment.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm going to make a note of that, because I think we could do a web talk and actually encourage people to come and practice, or some sort of session, and try and make sure each club has at least 2 people or something that are learning how to be producers. So we'll look at that at the district level as well. I'll keep going just because I know we are almost at our timeout. So Cindy, Sean, Dave, and Dawn. Cindy.
Just quickly, if you had a webinar like that on technology, it'd be great, because the next month, like Michael, it's going to be an upward learning curve for me. I haven't been in charge, and we could do better with hybrids and everything else.
Okay, we're on it. Sean.
And we're moving into a brand new smart room. So we're going to be looking forward to that. But the audio problems are going to be something that we need to address ahead of time. We did break things up. We have one night as a social, one night as a speaker, and then 2 are working. And I want to make them more engaging and to try to keep everybody involved.
Excellent. Okay, Dave, and then Dawn.
All right, and I'm not muted. That's good. One of the things that I really like what you shared, Anne, is the idea of the call-in tree, because I think one of the things that I've noticed over the past 2 years is that there's been a number of people who have drifted away. They're still members of the club. They weren't comfortable with the Zoom format, and so they just kind of lost touch, and they haven't come back to the in-person yet. So I think we really need to make sure that we're not losing people just because we didn't reach out to them and try to draw them
Right.
back in. So great idea.
Right.
I'm gonna take that back.
Great. And Don?
Yeah, we're actually looking for a new location. Our previous one was a Chinese buffet restaurant, and that's not really where people want to be going today to buffets. We're at a city hall, which has their own system, which we've now sort of conquered. But we're looking for a new location, so we'll be able to set it up, hopefully, the way it's going to work best for us.
Great, fantastic. And I will share just one quick thing. Maybe some of you are doing it, but we meet at Williams Cafe, and we have our own cupboard there, like quite a big one that we pull out the podium, and the computer and everything is locked behind it. And we also have up on it that Rotary meets here with a QR code that you just click on it and you go to our Rotary website, because there's people in that restaurant all the rest of the week. So there's lots of things when you are moving in somewhere, see if they will let you have all your equipment and stuff there and have your own place, make that part of your condition sort of thing. Because I think that's really effective, and we find it very effective. We even have a little ramp and the podium rolls down, the computer's there, and so forth. So great. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dave, for putting all of the different items in the chat. So people should have that. We'll follow up and make sure everyone has these. Check out our district website, because many of them are there as well. And right now, I'll invite you to take your break, and your next session starts, I think, in 10:25. So we'll exit out of this and go to your new link. So Julio, thank you so much for co-facilitating with me. He did such a good job at that joint meeting with the 12 clubs. That's when we went up to him and said, could you come and help us with this?
Well, apologies for the technical difficulties. As you can see, even people that know tech are supposed to be experts have it. So right now I'm actually running off my iPhone because my
There you
internet
go.
is down. So
Be ready, be flexible. Thank you for modeling that. Perfect. Okay, everyone, take care. Enjoy your next session.
Bye.